So, this second Sunday of Advent is the focus on peace. You know, as we go through this Advent season, we think of it as a time of preparation and a time to, in a new way, expect that we will be changed as part of this birthing process. And the desire for peace seems to be universal in all cultures, in all religions, in all times. People have had this desire, this innate desire, and long for peace. I was reminded about this and how it permeates all of our culture when I recently watched Miss Congeniality for about the 50th time for me. So I wanted to just show you this clip.
I would have to say world peace. Definitely world peace.
That's easy.
World peace.
World peace.
What is the one most important thing our society needs?
That would be harsher punishment for parole violators, Stan. And world peace.
It makes me laugh every time. And yet it also brought into focus for me that, this is something that we talk about, that we seem to desire all of humanity, and yet it is very difficult for it to be our enduring experience. We may have moments of it, but it seems pretty tough to maintain it for the long term. I know for many people, including me at times, the only way that I get to experience inner peace is when there's outer peace. In those moments where my world seems to all be running together and humming along just fine, I can breathe for a minute and feel that sense of inner peace. But if your life is anything like mine, those moments rarely last for very long. Whether it's the coffee pot not working, or traffic, or negative conversations that we're having, or work conditions, or the news that we've just watched, or financial worries, it seems that something is always at the ready to disturb our inner peace, as the Daily Word was talking about earlier. It's only to the extent that we can maintain inner peace that we will experience outer peace. We've kind of gotten it backwards in the way that we expect things to happen, but it's really through our ability to stay and to resonate at that place of inner peace that we will begin to see a shift in our outer world. It's one of our foundational beliefs. It's our third unity principle that says that we create our life experiences by this internal state, by our thoughts, by our feelings, and ultimately by our actions. Another way that we can understand this is that when things change inside of you, things change around you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that now all of a sudden everybody has just shifted and become new people and we now interact with each other in new ways, but the way we show up for it, the way that we experience it changes when we can be present from that place of inner peace. And the good news is that we don't have to somehow create this. We don't have to figure out how we can tap into our own inner peace, because at the very heart of each of us is a place of radiant peace. All we need to do is figure out how we access it, and how we access it on a regular and consistent basis. This inner chamber of peace always remains unaffected by changing circumstances around us. And the birth of the Christ through Jesus describes how in that birthing of the Christ around the whole earth, I would even imagine perhaps the whole universe, there was a great experience of peace in that moment. When I read the descriptions of how this birth unfolded and imagine the world as it existed at that time, I can almost feel that sense of peace sort of settle into me in a way that I think is much more challenging for us to tap into today naturally. In our lives today, we are bombarded by distractions, by disturbances, by so much noise that goes on in our world. Just take a moment to think about how much time we spend engaged in electronics, including this morning. Computers, phones, iPads, Facebook, TikTok, games, TV, radio. There is a noise that always seems to be present in our world today. And unless I'm sleeping, and even then, noise can disturb my peace in that slumber mode, or I am focused on a time of quiet meditation during my day. There is little quiet time, at least that I get to experience, not only in my outer world, but in my own inner world. At the time when Jesus was born, times of silence came naturally to the people and to the world. Imagine that there was no electricity, nothing powering any kind of mechanics. Think about the quiet times we have during power outages, especially in a snowstorm. There's no one on the roads. There's nothing humming in the houses because the electricity is off. The only noise that there might be is the crackle of a fire. The only lights that we might see, especially at night, are those of the stars in the sky. No planes, trains, automobiles, and a whole lot of space in there to contemplate in the silence. And there's a part of me that sometimes longs for the simplicity, as difficult and challenging as they were, because it just allowed that natural sense of interconnection and reflection and contemplation. Each week we sing along with thousands of Unity people and probably others that we aren't even aware of, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." And I would let it begin, I would add that let it begin within. The place that inner peace is found is often a place of quiet and silence. Our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, reminds us that the silence is a kind of stillness. Sometimes there's stillness, and then there's that stillness that we can tap into within. A place of retreat where we can enter, and having entered that space, may know and tap into the truth of our oneness, of our unity. When we go into the silence, observing the instructions of the psalmist, be still and know. This picture here is from the Peace Chapel at Unity Village. And it's a place where you can go into 24/7 and look at the wall that reminds you to be still and know. And the only way to really know is to enter this inner chamber, away from the outer, away from looking for something to bring you that peace. This inner quiet where we can be alone with the wisdom that is within us, where we can be at one with God and ultimately with peace. And even when we take the time, and I know many of us do, to be in the silence of the day, it's likely that there will be things as soon as we walk out the door, or maybe even before, that will disturb our peace. Earlier this fall, I shared with you one of the activities of my daily life that I have been working with to be able to allow it to be without disturbing my own inner peace. And that is my daily commute on 183, both directions. And it never changes. There are at least some directions, 2 lanes that merge into a different lane. And every day, there are those who will wait until the very last moment and then shove their way in. And, it's not a judgment thing. It's just, it makes for greater congestion. And when I'm centered, I bless them. That's been one of my practices. Bless you. Bless you that life is so hurried for you that you have to, go and wait and get past just a few more cars. And sometimes, if I'm in a really good space, I have compassion for them, for how busy life must be, for how urgent time must be stressing them out, that's the way that they have to have their commute stress them out. And lately, when I can't get there, and there are some days where I have a challenging time from a heartfelt space, blessing or having compassion with them, I pivot and I ask myself, this is my new practice that I share with you. Will it really matter to me if I arrive 5 minutes later? Whether it be if I'm coming into the church or whether I'm going home. In the big scheme of things, does it really make any difference? And the vast majority of the time, it's no. It's not worth disturbing my peace, I remind myself. One of my other activities that often will shift my ability to be centered is going through the Starbucks line. Mary and I laugh about this every day. And when I go and I see the lines very long, I have to ask myself, because I've gotten stressed, deciding to go through the line and then the line taking a really long time. Will it matter if it takes me 15 or 20 minutes to get through this line to get my venti hot beverage before I go into work? And most of the time it's no, and I can make that choice. And by asking myself that, sometimes if it is very time sensitive, if I have an appointment, a commitment that I've made, then I may choose to make a different choice and forgo going through the line that day. So part of the opportunity we have as we're focusing on really having that experience of peace as we go throughout our day, not just in our prayer and meditation time, is to ask, when we find ourselves getting stressed or upset about something outside of us that someone's doing or not doing, to ask, will it really matter in the big scheme of things if this doesn't unfold the way I was expecting it to? If this person doesn't show up in the way that I was hoping that they would? Is it important enough to disturb my peace? And what's the best decision I can make in this moment to maintain that peace as I go through my day? There are times, and there's certainly been times in my life, where peace may be more difficult to maintain. We go through experiences when perhaps we lose a loved one, lose a job, have a physical or mental health challenge going on in our lives, have a weather event that causes upheaval. And in those times, we have to learn, I believe, to be gentle with ourselves, to not necessarily expect that we're going to be able to navigate those at all times or at many times, or even a few times from that place of peace. To have compassion with ourselves, to have compassion with others, and to have the faith that this too will pass, and that inner chamber of peace always is waiting for us whenever we need a respite from the world. 24/7. It's there for us, like the Peace Chapel at Unity Village. It's open all the time. We just have to choose when we want to re-enter it and rest there for a while. For our meditation today, I wanted to share the beautiful words of the poem Amazing Peace, spoken by Maya Angelou. She wrote it and recited it at the 2005 annual Christmas tree lighting at the White House. And it is a great reminder today, as she wrote it, and there were events happening in this country and around the world, including Hurricane Katrina and many other things that were going on, that were leaving many people in a space where their peace was disturbed. And yet, she wrote it as a reminder for each of us that even in the midst of whatever is happening in our world, that peace is there for us. You can either close your eyes and listen to the words and let them wash over you, or you can watch. There's a little video of her reciting these words. We're going to hear her words that live on, even though she's no longer physically present with us. So I invite us to begin by setting anything that you might be holding on to, physically or mentally. Just set it aside for a moment. Again, if it's easier for you to have that inner focus, you might want to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Breathe in this energy of peace. Imagine that peace that passes all understanding is flowing in and through you right now. And as you let that next breath go, breathe out anything that's unlike peace.
Thunder rumbles in the mountain passes, and lightning rattles the eaves of our houses. Flood waters await in our avenues. The earth quivers and swallows entire villages. Snow falls upon snow, falls upon snow to avalanche over unprotected hamlets. The sky slips low and gray and threatening. We question ourselves. What have we done to so affront nature? We interrogate and worry God. Are you there? Are you there really? Does the covenant you made with us still hold? Into this climate of fear and apprehension, Christmas enters. Streaming lights of joy, ringing bells of hope, singing carols of forgiveness, high up in the bright air. The world is encouraged to come away from rancor, come the way of friendship. It is the glad season. Thunder ebbs to silence. Lightning sleeps quietly in the corner. Flood waters recede into memory. The quiet earth reminds us of peace. Snow becomes a yielding cushion to aid us as we make our way to higher ground. Hope is born again in the faces of our children. It rides on the shoulders of our aged as they walk into their sunsets. It spreads around the earth, brightening all things, even hate, which crouches, breeding in dark corridors. In our joy, we think we hear a whisper. At first, it is too soft, then only half heard. We listen carefully as it gathers strength. We hear a sweetness, a word. The word is peace. It is loud now, louder than the explosion of bombs. We tremble at the sound. We are thrilled by its presence. It is what we have hungered for. Peace. Not just the absence of war, but true peace, a harmony of spirit, a comfort of courtesies, security for our beloveds and for their beloveds. It is Christmas time. It is the glad season. We clap hands and welcome the peace of Christmas. We beckon this good season to wait a while with us. We Baptist and Buddhist, Methodist and Muslim say, "Come, peace, come and fill us and our world with your majesty." We, the Jew and the Jainist, the Catholic and the Confucian, implore you, peace, stay a while with us, so that we may learn by your shimmering light how to look beyond complexion and see community. It is Christmas time, a halting of hate time. On this platform of peace, we can create a language to translate ourselves and to each other. At this holy instant, we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ into the great religions of the world. We jubilate the precious advent of trust. We shout with glorious tongues the coming of hope. All the earth's tribes loosen their voices to celebrate the promise of peace. We, angels and mortals, believers and non-believers, look heavenward and speak the word aloud, peace. We look at our world and speak the word aloud, peace. We look at each other and into ourselves and say without shyness or apology or hesitation, peace, my brother, peace, my sister, peace, my soul, peace.
So for just the next minute, we're going to rest in the silence as we call forth, as we rest for just a few moments in this energy of peace. And as you slowly and gently begin to bring your awareness back to this time and space, allow yourself to let that energy, that awareness, and that desire for peace to move into this day and in the days to come. And as often as you can, to recite those words, peace, my brother, peace, my sister, peace, my soul. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. So our focus, our attention on calling forth a new birth of peace into our lives and into our world. I want to leave you with an Advent writing by Unity Minister Kelly Isola. She writes this, that the root of the Hebrew word for peace, shalom, means whole, complete, and sound, and point to a peace within oneself as well as peace with all of life. Think of peace like a warm syrup. When you pour it over pancakes, you can see it slowly spreading out and sweetening everything that it touches. In the same way, peace begins with one person and spreads, and then is returned in kind. When we are connected to our wholeness, then we become a vessel for peace on earth. We become juicy and ripe and sweet with the presence of peace, waiting to be tasted and embraced by those hungering for it. This is the heart of Jesus' words. Peace I leave with you. Peace I give to you. Why does Jesus say he's leaving peace with us? Maybe because we're supposed to do something with it. We can't leave it up to our neighbors. We each need to be responsible for the peace that we want in our world. Remember that peace begins with one person, spreading out like warm syrup. Peace wasn't only left by Jesus, it is left by each and every one of us, each and every day. May peace fill your lives this holy season and in the new year. Well, it is our opportunity to remind you that this community center of unity is dependent upon your support. We are so grateful for the many ways in which we receive our financial good. We are open to all channels in which to receive our good, and we are celebrating that we continue, despite the challenges that are unfolding right now in our building and with our insurance company, that there is going to be great good that comes out of this. I'll tell you what, I will never not appreciate the sanctuary and the equipment and the ease in which it works when we get back into our normal space. And I'm so grateful to the people who have stepped in, and each week we just figure it out. We figure out how to make all this work. We are not doing a formal offertory collection here while we're in this space, but we have baskets available at both doors for you to drop off your gift if you don't already share as a part of our committed giving program, or I know some people choose to mail in their donations. So we're just grateful for whatever you share with us, and know that it is an important part of our ongoing place of peace in this community to know that we have all that we need to cover whatever expenses may arise. And for those who are joining us via live stream, you can certainly be a part of the joy of giving to this community. You can go to our website, centerofunity.org, to the Give page, and there are affirmations there as well as Christmas affirmations in the basket here that you can pick up to allow it to bless you, to know that Spirit has selected that one for you as a thought, as a practice to meditate on this week. So let us take all the energy in our minds and our hearts and flowing in and through this ministry as we join and bless these gifts. Together, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Thank you.
So why don't we all stand together? Let's do our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And it is that peace that we we take into this day, that we take into this week and this holy season of Christmas as we go, knowing our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a wonderful week.